Welcome to Modern Management of the Older Adult, brought to you by the Institute of Clinical Excellence.
Hey everyone, it's Shelby Blankenship here with the MMOA podcast on this lovely July 17th. So today we are going to be talking about substance versus flash when it comes to just kind of figuring out what equipment you should have at your place, whether that's an outpatient more specifically for this rather than home health, but there's definitely some adaptations that we can take. I know a lot of people, it's getting towards like the end of the year and budgets and all that kind of stuff can be being discussed. So I figured I'd go ahead and give you my 2 cents about what we did when we opened Stave Off Hendersonville and just some factors to think about. So the first one I want to talk about is cardio equipment. It's very common for a lot of outpatient settings to have New Step. I think, we can give it a lot of grief and those kinds of things, but it can be super effective. The one thing with New Step too, though, is it is very costly. The last time I just looked it up, it was between $3,000 and $4,000, which that's quite a hefty piece of equipment and it's not easily movable. And so when we opened our clinic, we actually ended up opting for getting a ski erg, a rower, and then one of the echo bikes. And the nicest part about this is, first off, it's super adaptable. We can use this for all different types of patients. I can use them for my standing patients versus seated patients. There's all different types of maneuvers that you can do, especially like with the rower. You can actually take the little slide part off so you can actually pull up a wheelchair directly to it. I'm going to do a nice couple of reels all about those so that you have some options so you can kind of see what those things are. Ski erg, same thing. There's a great company out there called Equip Products. They make a ton of adaptive equipment. So for people who need a wider base at the ski erg or handles that are actually down low, so they're not having to use a string and constantly be toying with that to try to get the handles down to them. And then they also have options for the echo bike or assault bike, whatever kind of bike you have, where you actually are on the opposite side and they have handles that they attach to the normal handle so that you can actually do that upper extremity work, which is super effective. And if anybody knows anything about that thing, it is awful and very challenging, and especially challenging when you're just using your arms. So first things first, adaptability. And then second part is cost effectiveness. So we talked about the New Step being about $3,500 to $4,000, depending on which type you're getting. And that might be like the lower model. I'm not entirely sure. But a ski erg is only about $850. A rower is $900 to $1,000, depending if you get it brand new or anything. And then an echo bike can run about $850. So you can get almost all three of those, and they're movable. They have wheels, and versus just like one New Step. So that's something to think about. Like if you need to be able to rearrange your room quite frequently, or if you need the capacity to have something for maybe like what you would consider in your mind like higher level athletes, like you can use those same things with your older adults who are recovering from whatever they're recovering from. And then the last thing that I really like about this cardio equipment is it's measurable. So you can have different metrics on there where you can see like how many, calories per hour they're rowing at, or set a specific distance you want them to go. And then you can have that metric that you constantly are like striving towards. It makes documentation pretty nice. Then you can actually see those gains. And it also is really cool because like it will save some of that data and information so that you can kind of use it for future things, or if they're trying to compete against the person next to them, if you have like multiples of ski ergs or et cetera. So that's enough about the cardio equipment. And then now we're going to move on to bands. So I know Alex and I had talked about this before in one of our classes, but one of the things that I think people forget about when we are comparing like a TheraBand versus like a robust like exercise like pull-up bar band is the capacity it has not only to hold weight, but just how far it can go. It can just be a lot more instrumental in recovery, and you can really take a large amount of weight or amount of load that you're trying to load that patient up with and really make it like really, really difficult, rather than the TheraBands, like you can only max out to so far, or you can only hold the band so tight, or those kinds of things. With the TheraBand, they usually are costing between $60 to $70 per box, depending on, your deal with, if you're like part of a hospital organization, they probably have a little bit of a cheaper deal. But I get bands from Wad Fitters. And I have no affiliation with any of these people, so just so you know. But I got 4 bands, and it was a skinny one, and then it increased in thickness, like all the way up to ones like you could do a pull up with. And they were 4 bands for $50 to $70. So they end up lasting way, way longer. I can do way more with them. And a lot of my patients really, really like them just because they are really easy to clean. They are just really adaptable. Like I could do band sprints with one band, and then the next one I could be doing side steps, and the next one I could be doing like some upper extremity exercises or band pull aparts or any of those kinds of things. It actually makes the exercise really hard and engaging, rather than just a simple TheraBand where it tends to fray on you and break on you. Of course, they're bands, so they can always break, but I have just had less breakage with these guys. So intensity is huge. Cost effectiveness is really nice, as we talked about before. And then just that adaptability. I honestly kind of wish I had these in acute care because it would be super easy to clean and then just kind of roll on to the next patient. Whereas like TheraBands can get kind of junky, and I feel like they just don't have as much of oomph on them. So that's one thing for the bands. The third one I wanted to talk about is weights. So I get this question a lot, is like, how much weight, what kind of weights do I need to get? What would be super beneficial? So we have a gym as part of our stave off. So we had to get quite a bit of equipment. But when we were trying to figure out how much equipment, or the, dumbbells versus barbells versus kettlebells and all those kinds of things, there's just some things that I think are just important to think about. First off, how much, like, are you a home health clinician or a mobile PT where you need to be able to move your equipment like in your car or anything like that? Like I wouldn't take like a whole barbell full gym in my car, because one, it would not fit, but two, it'd be super heavy and my gas would not be super happy with me. But second, there's a lot of like adaptable equipment, kind of like we talked about with the cardio equipment, where you can adapt dumbbells to create kettlebells. So like they have like handles that you can attach there. There's also a lot of kettlebells and dumbbells that are adjustable. So you kind of have like a dial switch that you can go up and down to kind of get the weight that you want. And you could keep those in your car or in your gym if you're kind of limited on space. But really, any of those kinds of things where you have a little bit more capacity to kind of have like those higher level weights, not only is it beneficial for your client, but it's also beneficial for you, because then when you have downtime, you have a great option to work out. So we bought a lot of things that we would use, and then we knew we could adapt them to whatever our clients were needing. And it seemed to work out great. I know some people commented like, we don't have like 2.5 pound dumbbells here, but I have 2.5 pound change plates that we use for the barbell. So we just use those if somebody needs like a lighter dumbbell, or we use the bands if we need to. And that's the nice other part with the bands, is if you have those more robust bands, is that you can add intensity if you are limited on the number of weights that you have. As far as barbells go, we bought a couple of 15 pound, like the trainer bars, barbells. We have a couple of 35, and then we have a couple of 45. I would say, depending on how much space you have in your gym, it's worth having like one of each, because that 15 pound barbell is a great initiator of like, especially if you're doing like deadlifts and those kinds of things, and people are really intimidated by that 35-pound barbell. It can just seem really heavy and scary. So if you start with that 15-pound, they're like, oh, like this is so light, like I'm doing so great. That's a great like intro, because you can load up quite a bit of weight on there and then immediately transition to that 35-pound barbell, because they're already used to that situation as far as mechanics go and those kinds of things, which can be super nice. So, and also with the barbells, like we bought a ton of plates. We got 2.5 change plates and 5 pounds, and then 10s, 15s, 25, 35s, and 45s. We bought a ton of 10s. Let's be totally honest that most people, like I am rarely the person who's adding like 25s and 35s at a time. I'm usually adding like 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and then my whole like thing is just a bunch of 10s. But it just tends to be really nice from a portability standpoint, because we can do like ground to overhead, we can do plate carries, we can do all different kinds of things when it's not just like the plate itself. Like you can use it for all different kinds of things. Oh, and somebody made a comment that you can also stock a bunch of resistant bands and sell them to patients. Yep, that's another great idea if you need a little extra cash. That's a great way to kind of get some money in your pocket, and making sure that you've got like stuff that you actually use and that you know it works. I have some where it comes with the little door attachment, and so that you don't have to have like a rig or like a really robust like staircase or dining room table or anything. It comes with that attachment. And so I'll let people borrow it, and then they'll end up usually purchasing it either on their own or from us, depending on that, which can be super, super nice. So just to rehash, as far as equipment goes, cardio equipment, flash versus substance. Like I think the new stuff can be super flashy and people really like it and thinks it's beautiful. But I would say like ski erg, rower, echo bike, you can literally put almost every human being on there and adapt it to whatever capacity they have going on. It's just super, super cool to be able to do that. Oh, okay. And so sorry about that. And then as far as bands go, the more robust, the better. If you can get those pull-up bands, I use WattFitters. I know Rogue's got some. There's tons of them out there. Those just tend to be more efficient. They're easy to clean. They can really intensify your workouts and exercise routines for your clients. And there's something that's really portable. So if they need it to like when they go on trips or they're a relatively mobile person, snowbird kind of situation, those are super easy to move around. And then as far as weights go, adjustable is always a good idea. But if you're concerned of like, hey, I only have like one, 15 or 20 pound dumbbell, like you can always get those handles that attach to help to do like kettlebell swings and things like that, which can be super, super fun and just make your sessions a little bit more exciting than just always having like one 15-pound dumbbell and they always just do goblet squats with it or something like that. I have definitely found that a lot of people start out being a little intimidated with the kettlebells and dumbbells, but they tend to end up loving them a lot. And then once they kind of really dive into that, then the barbell becomes even more exciting. So don't limit yourself. If you have the capacity to have those things in your, whether it's your organization at your gym or at your home health, like if you can figure a way to port it, I'd say go for it. If you have any other ideas, please comment below. We'd love to hear them. I think this is like one of those really fun conversations where a lot of unique ideas can come out and everybody can learn something new. As far as MMOA goes, Essential Foundations is starting August 9th. So make sure to get registered for that. Advanced Concepts is not until October 12th. So you got plenty of time if you want to jump into advanced and kind of start that CERT MMOA process. Start out taking essentials on August 9th. We've got a couple live classes coming, not this weekend, but the next. There'll be 2 July 29th, one in Watkinsville, Georgia, and the other one in Meridian, Idaho. I hope I pronounced that right. And then another one coming August 5th in Frederick, Maryland. Thanks y'all so much. I hope these ideas are fun and useful for you, and be looking for some reels of some ideas that I use.
Thank you for listening to the MMOA podcast. If you found this helpful, please share with someone that could benefit. And if you're looking for more practical content to help you better serve older adults, head over to www.mmoa.online, where you can learn more about our free resources, our community, continuing education courses, and our certification. Once again, that's www.mmoa.online. Thanks for listening.